Hello, this is Carl, also known as Zarepath in the custom magic community, and today I was going to do a sealed for the set Eralou. I had a request from Color Pie Tyrant, just an open request to people to do a sealed of his set so we can get some more feedback and information on it. It's not a set that I've checked out much and have kind of wanted to, so I thought this would be a good opportunity to make a video of the sealed experience. So let's head right into it. Color Pie Tyrant has been very helpful for a lot of my designs, so a good designer with some good instincts. So let's sort by color. I've seen very few of these cards, like almost accidentally if I've seen any of them. The Eralou set symbol. This is a Louisiana based set, so Louisiana magic, interesting. Obviously not based actually physically in Louisiana, but inspired. Just need an artifact creature with art. Yeah, I hear you. Art is the worst. I really like the set symbol though. That's kind of cool. It's like a jester, I think, mixed with the fleur-de-lis. All right, so nice curve filler there. Opaline unicorn. New allures. Canal. Okay, so it can provide fixing the turn you play it for a cost. Otherwise, it's a normal tap land. It's a common. I think that's probably fine. Okay, so we have a common. Looks like we have wedges at common in this set, but I only have one. If it's a strong theme, it seems odd that there's, which I kind of feel like you'd have to have if there's these common wedges. But like I think back to Khans of Tarkir, and they had, maybe they only did have one spell per wedge at common, now that I think about it, and it was a morph card, so that you were more likely able to play it. So maybe it's okay. You can create a sapperling at sorcery speed. Oh, not sorcery speed. Only if a creature you control died. Okay, so maybe morbid is a thing. That seems like a good engine to have. Flying and vigilance. Always a fun combo. A lot going on with this trick. Resting. Okay. I'm assuming these names are going to change a little bit. Arwen is also kind of a taken name. I will just say that. From Lord of the Rings. It's a pretty famous name in fantasy. Chapel's Favored. Alright, so maybe there's a Knight Cleric thing. I've always thought that Magic could do more with the subtypes that they have. Not necessarily just straight up tribal, but maybe creating some more intra-class synergies, like between Knight and Cleric. And you could create a party with a warrior, a mage, a cleric, and things like that. That's a strong card. 3 power and some of it lifelink. Freudia's Church. You draw a card when you play it. Huh. Isn't I think it's called Chosen by Heliod in Theros. Very similar, except it costs 1 and a white. You draw a card when you play it, and the enchanted creature gets +0/+2. And that card ended up being very good with the heroic archetype. So this might be a pushed common. 2 pushed. Just if you're only going by, Alright, I can't. Alright, Enthralling Sermon. Apparently it costs 2 and a white, I believe. It's an instant tap up to 2 target creatures. You can cast the spell from your graveyard by tapping 2 untapped creatures you control, in addition to its other costs, then exile it. This is one card that I have seen, at least this mechanic, Tithe. I don't know how I feel about it, because it wants you to have lots of untapped creatures, but that benefit only comes once it's in your graveyard. So it's only a value card if you're ahead enough on board that you can afford to tap 2 of your creatures. that you A, have those creatures, and B, can afford them to be tapped and not lose on the crackback, right? Although the actual spell effect can help somewhat. It seems like a win more design also, like tapping creatures to help you attack in. Of course, you're tapping your own creatures to do that, but you can use 2 weenies and this to tap their big blockers and attack with your big creatures. I'm interested to see how it plays, but it seems win more to me. And I know that I have designed many win more mechanics myself, so an easy thing to do. Okay, I like these activated abilities in other colors in sets because the cards are still playable but still provide multicolor support, so it can be filler if needed. It prevents too many train wreck drafts where you just don't have enough creatures, or you can't even play the creatures you have access to because they cost a white and a red and you're a blue-white deck. Well, in this case, you at least can play something on turn 3 even if you don't get the full value. These 3/1s for 2. Human Artist. Festival Stiltwalkers. That's fun. They pack a punch. +1/+1 until end of turn. Untap them. So this effect is at uncommon in Ixalan. I know because I got blown out by it the other night. And it doesn't give lifelink. Exact same cost, 2 and a white. Creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn and untap them. Untapping all your creatures I don't think is something that Wizards likes at common very often, particularly when that's accompanied with power toughness boosts and life boosts. Like that's just a game-winning blowout. And that's okay on some cards, but to have all those components together, I'm not as sure is great for a limited environment. Perform. All right, here's a new one. Okay, so Perform goes well with Tithe. Perform, whenever it becomes tapped, you can tap another creature. So this is kind of like Inspire from Born of the Gods, which rewards you for using your creatures either attacking or things like that. One of those mechanics that rewards you for attacking that Wizard seems to like, with Morbid and Enrage and Raid. But yeah, no, I like that. I like Perform. It encourages you to be attacking. Of course, this, again, the question then becomes, does this only become an aggressive ability? I think it depends what abilities you put along with the mechanic. So like Enrage is ostensibly an aggressive, can be an aggressive ability, but it can also be a defensive one. You can leave something back and hope that its Enrage trigger can trigger even if you have to chump, and maybe that gives you value in another way. Whereas this is only when you're attacking. Of course, if you have triggers like gain life or freeze a creature instead of just single tapping it or things like that, then you can also have some more defensive applications. And it's okay that it's aggressive. Like if the design of this is I need some aggressive archetypes that use Perform, and Perform is meant only to encourage aggression, that's fine too. 3/2 Vigilance, sacrifice it, untap all your creatures. I'm much more okay with this effect at common than with the spell, even though this is an onboard complexity at common. So if I'm facing this Vigilance guy, it's very difficult for me to race him, okay? Because he can at any time decide to sacrifice this blocker to untap other things. And you're already getting, that gives you first strike. You also have you already have a lot of aggressive things. I wonder if there's too much Vigilance at common. I count 1, 2, 3 Vigilance creatures in white at common. That combined with all these untapping effects probably occupy too much of the same space. I think I understand why though. I think the design wants you to be able to attack and still tap your creatures to Tithe. I think that's the reasoning for that. But I would guess that all of your creatures having Vigilance makes all of your untap effects not matter as much. I would feel more clever for using my untap effects to work well with Tithe than I would for simply having drafted creatures with Vigilance and then tithing with them, I think. So probably cut down on some amount of vigilance and some amount of untapping. Tap another untapped creature you control, you gain 2 life. Okay, I like this, because this, you can do it at instant speed, you can block with the thing, and then tap at the end of your turn to gain some life, and then maybe get a prowess, not prowess, perform trigger. Ondarachi Guardian. I really like the art on this guy. Fungus artist. But deep down, aren't we all fungus artists at heart? Oh, good. I really like the spore flavor. When I thought of Louisiana flavor, I thought, well, what kind of non-human creatures are there going to be? And I think fungus is a good fit. Okay, so it looks like this is a -1/-1 counter set, seasoned. I don't like that mechanic. I don't want to put counters on my own creature. And the fact that I have to, like, what if you have no lands, as is often the case, like, and you're in a rare situation where you actually want a 2/4 that gains you 3 life instead of a 3/5, but you don't have another land coming. I kind of like the idea that the mechanic wants you to care more about drawing lands later in a game, but I don't like that the effect of that is your creatures get worse, even if it's for a marginal benefit. There's going to be too many situations where I draw a land and I'll think, wait, do I want to season my Spore Tender? And I'll realize, no, I don't want to season my Spore Tender. Seasoned. I mean, you're getting ready to cook your fungus. It's kind of interesting flavor, as it were. All right, let's keep going. Prowess. Oh, giving it trample. I like that mix of colors. It's a nice union. Although you have 2 2/1s for 2 at common and blue. I don't know how I feel about that. It's okay. Oh, yeah. Screw you, missed. Counter target non-creature spell and draw a card. That was a spell in Gatecrash, I think. Or RTR. Alright, so blue does a little more performance. Glamorous Aerialist, Cirque du Soleil, Wizard. Why is she not an artist? Like the Stiltwalkers. That's cool. I like it. Again, aggressive, but maybe that's what that mechanic needs to do. Hostile Waters. So that punishes them for playing creatures, but it mills them. Very bad if you're behind. If you're ahead, gives you an additional alternate win condition. This kind of changes the game. Like, when this card matters, it changes the game. And maybe I'm wondering if this needs to be an uncommon, is what I'm wondering. Except that the person who casts it has 0 control over it actually triggering. It's kind of a weird space. Okay, instant speed. So that's a lot like Tezzeret's Ambition, I think it's called, or Tezzeret something, where you have to discard a card unless you control an artifact. Except this is instant speed, and I believe that was sorcery speed, I don't know. It might need to be sorcery, I don't know. Because just think about the card Inspiration, costs 3 and a blue to draw 2. Even if you draw 3 and discard a card, not having an enchantment seems like this card is still great. And maybe you want it to be in that kind of power space where it still feels good even without having an enchantment. But you also want to feel rewarded for having the enchantment. I guess there is a reward there for it. I've come this far. This is the first I've realized there's an enchantment sub-thing. And I assume in a set like this you need, if you have a card designed like this, enchantments had better be a sub-thing. I mean, what enchantments have we seen? I mean, in white alone. And white, I have the most cards. 0. Of course, sealed, you know, the distribution of cards can be weird, so that's okay. We did have those mill enchantments. Oh, did I miss this enchantment creature? Oh, I'm just getting to it now. Possess. There we go. 3 and 2 blue for 5/4. You cast it by paying its mana cost reduced by the converted mana cost of a non-enchantment creature you control. You exile that creature. So that's like champion, except for non-enchantment creatures. So you're upgrading your creatures into enchantment creatures. And flavor-wise, that makes sense. You're possessing them. And but they can also be built. It has a lot of value too, because once it gets removed, then you get the original creature back. So you don't feel bad for upgrading your creature, because it's not like you're investing 2 cards into 1. I'm very interested in Possess, and I think just so far, I think the funnest thing I've seen so far is just imagining, all right, what kind of creatures do I want to possess? Something with good enter or leave the battlefield triggers, and that seems fun and interesting. And it feels like an enchantment in that way too, because you're kind of enchanting a creature when you do it. And that's tricky to get enchantment creatures that still feel like enchantments, especially at common. The mechanic has enough complexity. I'd look at making all your possessed creatures have very simple abilities, like just keyword abilities, and not things as complicated as this. This kind of looks like an uncommon to me, but something with just flying or hexproof, or even prowess would I think just feel better. So the complexity of the card is in the mechanic itself, and I think at common, when you're introducing mechanics, you want the main hall of complexity in a card to be the mechanic itself, because that's where players are first being introduced to it usually. Human advisor, debutante, very cute, very good. Bloom, this is new. Create a petal artifact token with tap, sacrifice. Okay, so you create lotus petals. Very popular mechanic these days. So what if you are not countering anything with this? What if this is just 1 in a blue instant speed, create a lotus petal? Does that break the color pie? I don't know. I guess I don't really have the answer, but it's something I've thought about because I've tinkered with some mechanics like this. And if you look at Ixalan in blue, everything they have that creates treasure tokens costs 3 or more. And I think that's an important threshold because usually green is the only color that really ramps on turn 1 or 2. And then, has the payoff on turn 3. And I think mechanics like bloom and treasure make that bleed too much. I think that hurts the color pie a little bit. So I'd consider making this cost 2 in a blue, kind of like, I forget what the card is, but you bounce a creature and you make a treasure in Ixalan. Now, and Ixalan does have the black 2-mana pirate that gives you treasure when it dies, but that's pretty conditional, whereas this just straight up makes the petal. Also, your opponent knows if I kill this, it's ramping them, or if I attack, he might chump with it or trade, and that ramps them, and then that's more of an opponent's choice as well. So just a thought on bloom. I might be wrong, but I would start by trying to have those kinds of effects not take effect until turn 3 in colors like blue that don't get mana ramp that often. That seems fine. Ontarachi cranes. I think I like the names and flavor and pictures pretty well so far. I'm not entirely sold on the fungus and being seasoned yet. Alright, possess. You may return another creature to its owner's hand. So the idea behind this, you possess on turn 5 or earlier, and then you possess with this, and you return your possessed creature, giving you back the original. I'm just not sure. I don't know what the idea is with this, because possess is already giving you additional entrance abilities and exit abilities, I call them, triggers. And so why does this need to bounce an additional creature to your hand? Maybe that's just me not knowing the format well, but another instance where I'd maybe make possessed creatures more vanilla. Huh, I like this. So illusions, the illusion mechanic where you have to sacrifice it if it gets targeted, those are interesting in blue because it gives them a way to have strong beaters that are still fragile. And it also encourages other players to have interaction, which is just good teaching. But it felt very swingy, like either my creature is great or it's horrible. And in this case, that kind of finds a middle ground, and I like that. Although, why would you want to target a creature just to turn it from a 3/4 to a 2/3? Usually if you're targeting something, you're using a card for it, like a spell. Maybe it makes some tricks, like if there's a blue trick that just makes something be -3, -0, which normally just makes your creatures bounce off of each other. It could then make this weak enough that you can actually kill it in the trade. I don't know. I have to see how often players would be willing to target this just to make it weaker, and if that feels worth it. But I do really like the idea of finding the middle ground of illusions. Sensitive soul. I love that. That might be a red effect, or red flavor for the name, a sensitive soul, the creative side of red, but I think it's fine in blue, and I like the effect, and that's a blue effect. Okay. I mean, this is an effect from Cons. It's like a reprint from Cons. So that's multiple prowess creatures at common. I do that in my custom sets, but I read an interview, or it was just a Tumblr post from Mark Rosewater, where he said we found that you actually don't want prowess in too big of numbers in the sets. That's something that they found, and I don't quite remember why he said that, but if you find out, let me know. I'm interested in that. And I assume that's having, 2 in blue and 2 in red is probably too much for wizards, according to that quote, and I'm wondering why. Bokor's trick. That's a complicated trick for common. I think green has a very similar effect at uncommon in Ixalan. 1 in a green instant, you draw a card, and then until end of turn, whenever a creature dies, return it to the battlefield. This makes it return tapped, and you're just giving it a lifelink. I'd be interested to see how it interacts with the rest of the set. To justify it, I think it would have to be a format justification, because it has a lot of complexity. That seems fine. Induce decay. Induce it some more. Read the bones. I've heard of that. Yeah, there's the possess synergy we were talking about earlier. I want to possess my Sinbound Priest and put counters on things. Maybe this is something you want to bounce with Riptide Contra, but possess is already triggering that, so... Okay, here's a more along the lines of what I was saying earlier, of having the possessed creatures be a little more vanilla. And I like this, Sinister Contra. 4 and a black, 5/3. When it dies, opponent loses 3 life. Seems great. Oh! I love this card. Okay, this is a cool way of highlighting a sub-theme, and also the ecosystem of Louisiana, of Eralou, by highlighting these creature types: fungus, sapling, plant, insect. Usually black can sacrifice anything, and sometimes that feels too swingy. Like, I want to kill that thing. Well, I'm going to sacrifice and get value instead, and that doesn't feel great. It feels great as black. But you can feel even better being like, all right, I'm going to make the starving deck and just have a bunch of fungus, saplings, plants, and insects that my my flyers can eat, and I can win the race. I can chump with my fungus after having attacked with my flyer, and then sacrifice it to gain life. So you're gaining life on their turns, and they're losing life on yours. But I love that design. That's cute. I don't like this either, because this changes the game in a similar way that whatchamacallit, Hostile Waters does. I like that it's the same trigger at common, so like they know, okay, playing creatures is bad. But do you really want a limited format where sometimes players feel like they're punished for playing Magic, which is very creature based now? If I'm red, I win by playing creatures. You know, I'm not burning anybody out in limited. And suddenly I'm punished for that and have no way to interact. So I don't know that I like that so much. I would like this more if it enchanted a creature, because players can interact with their own creatures much better than they can with themselves as a player. If they can even use a removal spell on themselves, on their own creature, if things get as bad. So what if this just costs 1 black, this enchantment aura, enchant creature, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under enchanted creature's controller's control, that player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So then like, okay, maybe I can chump with this creature, but then you can refuse to attack, or you know, maybe then it's still not a great card, but I think it leads to funner Magic at common. If you notice other curses that Wizards has done at common, I'm thinking Curse of the Bloody Tomb. That's just every upkeep. It doesn't punish them for their playing creatures or what they do on their turns, just the length of the game. And that seems more fair. Same with the red curse. It's at the beginning of your upkeep. That was another common curse. And there's a black one that just exiles things from graveyards, which doesn't seem to matter in this format. Self-mill. So maybe it does matter? Wailing Ghoul. That looks like a choir. If you could call that a choir somehow, I would love it. Wailing Choir. Creature zombie. Undead Encore. I don't know. Seasoned. All right. Okay, so you want to eat your seasoned creatures, so maybe that's why it's okay to put -1/-1 counters on them. So you're seasoning them up and getting value, and then you eat them for more value. That's interesting. So I like this design more than this one, because I don't want to pay 5 mana for something that I will gradually make weaker on purpose. I'm okay with spending 1 mana on something that has a specific role early in the game, you know, blocking attacks, and then later in the game you start seasoning it. You know, your land drops that normally don't do anything else because you don't have any more spells in your hand. You can start making them lose life with that, and then feeding it to your starving swoop rats. I like that. But how many other things feed on your seasoned creatures? I don't know. Alright. Each player sacrifices a tapped permanent. Tithe. If you're ahead, this is really good. If you're behind, not as good. They'll be like, okay, I'll get rid of a land, and you have to get rid of your land. I don't know, like if you're mana screwed a little bit, this does nothing for you. Tithe and Perform work together, but they don't seem like catch-up mechanic. Or they work together, but they are both kind of win more. Oh, that's a strong card. 2/1 haste with a bonus that can give it flying later. It's very aggressive. Maybe it's not too aggressive. Can attack and tap. Oh, interesting. You made that a symbol instead of spelling it out. I don't know that I agree with that. Balloon Dragoon is an awesome name. This isn't what I asked for. However, this is what I wanted. I really like this card. I feel like it's probably really strong, but that's okay. It's appealing. Okay, seems fine. Corrosive Mists. I'm more okay mainboarding this if there's a lot of blooming going on. I've seen one bloom card. It was one card in blue that was common. So perhaps there needs to be more of that. Oh, that's fun flavor. Life of the party. Okay, well, that's something you want to possess too. It's just the normal token maker in red, except it's a creature instead of a spell. Okay, it's a reprint and Die Forger. All right, here are all the green things that we're going to be eating. Whoa. Huh. Giving another creature +3/+3. It seems like a specific scenario that you want to do that in. Like, you have to have another creature in play that you want to attack with, or you would be willing to attack with. Doesn't do much until then. Like, I wouldn't put this in my deck, because it's a 2/2 for 3 that only gets worse when you use its ability. So I don't know. Alright, another reprint. Aspect of Gator. I'm excited for this card. Fights target creature you don't control. I like this. So it can be a combat trick that gets damage through, or you are fighting to remove a thing. I like it. I would track and limit it how often you choose one mode versus the other. It might be that too often it's best to just fight the thing you want to get rid of instead of saving it for a certain kind of block. But I guess one side... No, they're both potentially defensive modes, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, so I just watch for that, but I like it. I like that. Frog Warrior. I've always loved Frog Warriors. I think everyone has. Oh, that's fun. I like this. So this is an interesting fog, because I could see somebody being really cheeky and limited, just drafting all of these and trying to mill them with Turbo Fog. I really like this design. Like, it, you see decks appearing in your mind when you look at this card. Of course, that strategy would still have weaknesses, but fun. Fairy Shaman. Hopmeister. Hopmeister Shaman, that's fun. Strong 2-drop. Like, I would always pick cards like this that just have good power and toughness for their cost over things that are mediocre for their cost, and then to use their abilities you have to make them actively worse. Cantra of Crops. Why do you want to ramp with a 5-drop? Although I guess if you play a 2-drop on turn 2, you can possess it on turn 3 with this. And so then you have a 3-mana 3/2 that can ramp you. And then when it gets removed, you get your 2-drop back. So that does... I guess I like that the card presents a puzzle. It's like, how can you make me worth it? Unfortunately, the question then becomes, what if it's not often enough that that ability matters? Then the design feels off. I'd keep it now and see how often you can make it work, though. Cantor of Primality. Because I do like it, you know, your 2-drop can immediately go into I notice 5 seems to be a common cost for these, and I think that's because, you know, it seems like a good, well, I guess 6 is also common. Doing something with your 2-drop into the 3-drop just seems good. Seems like a good way to build a deck. Yeah, this seems great. I like this application of Possess, which is a very simple card. I feel like you get bonuses for these effects now. You're missing a space after the question mark. Attribution. This attribution guy says a lot of smart stuff. Okay, there's the curse issue. At least it's just gaining you life. But I mean, having to remember trigger anytime anything happens, because of a card that is not very easily interacted with, I don't think I like that. So I won't say much more about the curses at common. It seems like everything's common. It looks like we're testing commons. It gains Death Touch until end of turn. I like this. I think I really like the designs of the multicolor commons with the activated abilities of other colors. I like it. Truffle Frog, very good. I think I like the flavor a lot so far, except for, ironically, well, I think I like the flavor of the seasoned creatures. I just think design-wise they're not gonna, I mean, why would I turn my 3/4? The difference between a 2/3 and a 3/4 is very big, because having 4 toughness and dealing 3 damage on a creature at common is generally very good in limited. I guess if you really need to find something. But if you're behind, making your creatures worse to try and look for an answer with your scry is not going to feel good. I don't know. Maybe there's other things that help you eat your funguses for value. Maybe you season something up and then you possess it, and so all the counters go away, and so maybe there is some good synergy with that. But on its face, it doesn't look appealing. And I guess that's why we play test and not just look at the cards and judge them, right? I won't be play testing for this video, unfortunately. Okay, what time are we at? I guess I can't really tell. Well, we're not red. I have to make this sealed deck very quickly. I mean, I like the possess cards. There's removal in black. The white cards seem nice and aggressive. I have a lot of green. So a bunch of it seems like sideboard material. I mean, I like the swoop rats. I actually really like my black commons. The blue ones, I don't know. We could do blue-black, prisoner control, soul tie curses. We could do white, green, black. Saprolings. You can eat saprolings, right? Yeah. All right. Maybe it's what's for dinner. Maybe that's our archetype. I feel like I'm supposed to. White, green, black is the seasoned archetype, but I already said that I don't like the feel of that mechanic. We're definitely green. We should just do green, white, and maybe okay. I don't think we need those. Those are aggressive. That's a great card. I mean, that seems strong. Just a 1/2 vigilance for 1 seems good. And then those are artists, not clerics. I know I had some clerics, and those guys were good, so I'm definitely liking that. It's a good trick. I might keep 1. Aspect of Gator is a better trick. This is a seasoned guy that I actively didn't like. Sideboard. Maybe we keep that and splash black for that. We're not doing that. Truffle Frog, maybe. I want to try the possessed creatures. A 3/4 for 4 is okay, with potential bonus if I really need it. 2/3 Flying Vigilance is good. I think I want maybe one of those. And one of those. I don't like these. Gift of Pollen. I mean, I'm at 24 cards. How many clerics do I have? I mean, I have 2 clerics. No other clerics. So maybe these guys actually are not worth it. I mean, they're vigilant, so you can tap them for tithe effects. I'm not red. Those guys are awesome. And they give you things to tithe with. Although I don't think I have any tithe cards in here. Did I get rid of them? Wasn't there a white tithe card? Yes. Enthralling Sermon. Wait, where'd you go? There it is. It costs 3 mana, so naturally I put it in my 4 mana pile. Oh, I only have 22 cards. So, let's add black. What is the best of black? Because we don't have removal. We have the fight card, and we have that trick. Yeah, that's another thing that untaps things. So that's 3 at common, and I've got them all on my deck. Perform. Possess. Induce Decay was good. Read the Bones would have been... Yeah, I guess I didn't see a lot of removal yet. That might have just been my pool. Okay, so I guess this is what I'd go with. My curve is not great. I have a lot of stuff at 3. But I have potential to be very aggressive with some nice curves here. Some great tricks. And an engine that can, create a lot of value over time. And a lot of vigilance. He has vigilance too. So I can race well. I wish I had... I guess I could put that on it. I'm trying to think of ways to take advantage of this hexproof guy. And some big things there. So, looks like 9 white, 8 green is what I want. Because those white 2 drops are important to get down on turn 2. And... Alright, that's the deck. So that's been Eralou Sealed. And I hope you enjoyed a look at the set. I definitely have some really interesting mechanics. Some mechanics that I'd like to see tested to see how they work, but definitely like the ideas behind them for sure. And the flavor is great. So looking forward to see where this set goes. And thank you for watching.